I would like to thank everybody out there, and I would like to thank Irv Homer for allowing me to host this show tonight. And the reason why he's allowing me to host this show tonight, there's a serious credit problem in our country. And it gives me the great opportunity to not only answer your questions, but to correct what the situation is across this country. We didn't just get into a credit crunch for no reason at all. The banks are foreclosing on many people's houses. The credit cards are overcharging with the high interest rates. You're losing your property. The car dealers are saying we can't give you credit. The banks, your banks, are freezing your credit cards. Your banks are freezing your accounts. Sheriff departments are knocking on your door. We need solutions to all this, and tonight we're going to have the solutions. We're going to answer all your credit problems. We're starting from the top. We're going to go down. This show is going to be concentrating on your credit rights, and this show is going to be concentrating, thanks to Irv Homer, with solutions to your problems. Tonight, you're going to walk away telling your friends, your relatives, everywhere across the country that there's hope. We can correct the problems that are having. Our phone number, if you wish to call with your credit problems, tonight's the night to do it. 215-253-8877. We're going to go to the first phone call. Caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Hi, Pearl?
Yes.
Hi, it's Melissa.
Hi,
I wanted to call in. I wanted to thank you for you helping me and let the callers out there know what the debt consolidation scams are about.
Go right ahead, Melissa.
We were in, my husband and I were in a financial problem. You couldn't pay our credit card bills, got one of those debt consolidations sent to us in the mail. Desperate to make payments, we, of course, went lower payments. They'll handle all the credits, do all the negotiation. Paid into it for a year, nothing was paid. By luck, somebody gave us your card, and you went in and found out our cards were charged off. They have all our money. We don't know where our money's gone. We don't know what they've done with it. And, you know, they put us in a way worse situation than we were. It ended up going late on our mortgage because we were trying to make the payments to this Matthews law firm company that is the debt consolidator, and they were just a complete scam.
Melissa, I want to thank you. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about what happened to you, and I want to go into a detail because this is helping a lot of other people who also, and I found out today, believe it or not, that a couple other people are into this scam, but not just in California, all over the place. It's really interesting. You were caught. You were caught into a trap, but thank God you're out of the trap. And let me tell you what happened to her. She received something in the mail, and in this mail it says, you know, what you see on your television, this debt reduction, as they put it, or the council services, as they put it. You know, you're desperate out there, and I know you're desperate and you want the help, but you have to do your homework. And I always go by referrals only, so people do their homework on me. But she did not do her homework, and they were desperate. And they're professional people. It's not that, you know, everybody's stupid out there. I call them brain dead, because sometimes you have to do some homework. And what she did is, this literature that came to her house, she trusted this literature. And she trusted the literature because it came from an attorney's firm. Well, why wouldn't you trust an attorney's firm? And this firm came from California. It could come from anywhere. It could come from Pennsylvania. The people I talked to today came from Pennsylvania. And what they do is, they took out $1,400 a month out of her account automatically. $1,400 that she didn't have. $1,400 that she could have paid her mortgage. And what they said to her was, under contract, because he was an attorney, so if this is happening to you, let a red flag be raised. So what they were doing was they were taking out $1,400 a month out of her account, saying they were going to pay off all her bills. Now, if somebody's going to pay your bills, you're going to see it. But the problem was, when time she got to me, the time she got to my office and contacted me, she said, I'm getting harassed by bill collectors. I said, something doesn't sound right here. If you're getting harassed by bill collectors and they're paying your bills, there's a red flag here. Somebody's not paying your bills. So we pulled a copy of her credit report only to find that all these accounts were charged off. Now, what does this mean? We're going to go into that. But it meant was all the accounts were charged off, which means she didn't owe the creditor anymore. And this attorney, he had no one pay but a bill collector. And all this money was wasted. So yes, in return, I wrote to the attorney a letter, a very nasty letter. And what happened was they sent her a check. Now, she put in 1 year's time $16,000, over $16,000. And they sent her a refund check after my letter went out for $5,000. It's not even nowhere close. Well, today his office has contacted me, not once, but twice. So what does this tell you? Guilt or what? Because, yes, we are going to go further. I'm going to make this... I always say, if it happened, if he did it to one, he's doing it to hundreds of thousands, and because he's an attorney, he's getting away with it. The moral of this story is, if you're paying someone to do a service, you should know or have some kind of a written statement or something, not a contract, as much as you have to know what's going on. You really have to do your homework on these people. Just because they're an attorney, there's many fraudulent attorneys out there. When it comes to your credit, it's really easy. You can email me or you can call me with any questions you may have when it comes to your credit. But I always like to start at the top, the bill collectors. Bill collectors are not allowed to arrest you. They're not allowed to come to your home. They're not allowed to come to your door with a show up by saying, we're going to take all your possessions. They're not allowed to do it. And many people have seen this and said, well, I just paid a bill collector. But the bill collector happened to be an attorney. So he wasn't a bill collector. The attorneys are bill collectors, but they're also under the guidelines under the Fair Debt Collection Act, which means they have to go by the same laws that the bill collectors do. Do they do it? In my personal opinion, they intimidate people more so because they are attorneys. Why aren't you supposed to pay bill collectors? Why don't I want you to pay bill collectors? Well, very easy. Let me explain in detail. You owe a creditor, but you owe a creditor the amount of money. The creditor wants to get paid, naturally. But you cannot afford to pay this creditor because of this credit crunch. You lost your job, sickness, or giving it to this attorney. So the creditor wants to get paid, so what he does, he takes it as a tax write-off or a profit and loss against their income taxes. It's called, when you file your taxes, it's called a tax deduction. Not that you don't owe them the money, but you cannot afford to pay them anymore because they took it as a write-off. And they can't take your money anymore because it'll be double dipping. Now the next stage is the bill collector tries to buy this account, pennies to a dollar. Do you owe this bill collector? No. You owe the creditor, not the bill collector. You did not sign any valid contract with a bill collector. And yet, many bill collectors will stay in business. They will stay in business because you're paying them. Yes, you want to pay your bills. Everybody is morally and legally obligated to pay their bills, but not to the wrong people. And this person that just called, she was paying it to the wrong person, and it wasn't even a bill collector. She had good credit. The problem is she wanted to lower the interest rates. She wanted to lower and make some negotiation with these creditors, and if it was done the right way, she could have. But instead, all the accounts were charged off because this attorney was just putting in a trust fund. More money and more money and more money till it ended up to be $16,000. And it wasn't paying anybody. Now we just have to correct the problem, which we are, and we're going to get her back to good credit again. Why we're getting her back to good credit is very simple. When I said to you about charge-off, well, the other gold mine of credit laws is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And that is when you're disputing with the credit bureau, their job is to investigate it with the original creditor, not a bill collector. And if the creditor does not respond back to that credit bureau in 30 days, not 7 years, the account has to be removed. I'm not a miracle worker. They call me every name in the book, but I'm not a miracle worker. I just use all the credit laws out there. I didn't put these laws into force. Congress did. And these laws has to be amended very much, I hope, with this administration. They have to be changed because half of the people in our country are not familiar with the laws. No one's going to knock on your door to educate you on these laws. I think it's great that Obama said he wants changes. I think it's perfect that he wants these changes. And I think it's great he bailed out the banks. Here's the problem. The problem is, just because he gave billions of dollars to the banks, it's the people with credit problems that cannot get to these banks. They cannot get to these banks to borrow the money that Obama's giving the bailout to. So it's going to be up to me and people like me to help you with the credit and then get these loans that you want so much to bail out the system. We have a credit crunch in this, and yet I think it's great. I think it's really great, but we're going to go back to the phones. Caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. It's still Melissa.
Yes, Melissa. Any comment?
No, I just hope we get our word out about these debt consolidations so somebody else doesn't end up in the same boat that we do. Just don't trust anybody out there. Call Pearl.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. I know you think she thinks I'm the angel right now, but Melissa, it's interesting. I went to the post office today, and the postmaster there, the person in back, said, I need to talk to you. A person was giving out, it was $2,000 a month to this person to pay their bills. And I thought, oh my God, have them call me ASAP, because we're doing a case right now. I'm hoping this gets to the media enough. I really hope this gets to the media. It's not, I still have to do some homework to find out what this attorney did and where the money is and what did he pay and is he paying. Because you should have received a documented invoice every month, every week to show this. And it's just sad. But the good news is it wasn't too late. You could have done this for 3 years. You could have given this gentleman over $50,000, and
right.
and for you to educate the people, because you learned a lesson from this, and I see you're a teacher, you're a nurse, so you care about the people. So the good news is, you learned the hard way. You lost some money. Let's try to get it all back. But what you didn't get back, believe it or not, you're educating the people. Thank you, Melissa.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody that would like a phone call, anybody would like to call in with your credit problems, or if you have the credit crunch and it's affecting you, you can email us or you can call 215-253-8877, and you can call me with your questions if you're having concern about this credit crunch. Obviously, when I think about it, I've been doing this for 25 years, and we had many disasters when it comes to credit. But now I have to say it's a positive. Because, see, years ago, if your home was in foreclosure, I would say to you, well, you're going to have to refinance. 10 years ago was bankruptcy. Not anymore. Because the only people, I would say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the only people that I thought should file bankruptcy if you were losing your home to save it. And then 5 years later jumped down, and all these new things came on the market where if you were back on your mortgage, I would say, no, you're not going to file bankruptcy. I'm against that always. But now I'm going to tell you to refinance. Now it's a little better. Because no one out there, and I don't know what to say, no one out there should be ever losing your home with all these new government programs. And the government programs are, it's the modification. I know there's so many companies out there doing it, and I know you don't know who to trust, but call me. We do have some good modification with our government that's going to save your property. I don't care if it's an adjustable mortgage, if you're back on it 4, 5, 6 months, we can put that in the back end. And you can help. It's a win-win situation right now. It's a win-win situation because we're going to correct your credit. But you don't have to correct your credit in order to get this modification. That's the good news. But you're going to have your cake and eat it too. Then this organization approached me and said, Pearl, come on our team and we'll call it the Dream Team. Come on our team in Philadelphia. And I sat down with them, and what they wanted was everybody in the city of Philadelphia, starting in Philadelphia, that was renting, that wants to own property. They want to build you a new home. Build you a new home. Too good to be true? Well, it is a dream come true, because it's another win-win situation, because they don't need a high score. As I'm helping you with your credit, 120 days you can get. I've already given them so many clients and so many applications, because there's lots in Philadelphia that he has purchased enough to build these homes. So you, like Osage Avenue in Philadelphia, look all the houses on Osage Avenue that was built from that land. Look all across the street from Temple. There's lots there that they're empty lots. They could be a West Oak Lane, Olney. There's all these areas out there that if you live in and you're renting, pass the word around. Tell your friends, tell your family to call me, because we could make this dream come true as far as buying property. We're talking about, again, thanks to Irv Homer, because the whole hour is spent on the credit crunch, helping you, the consumer. And I owe him a debt of gratitude, because the people have to hear this all across the country, what can happen and what can happen. The next thing, like we like to know, the laws on credit. There's so many laws on credit that it could be boring to you, but it may not be boring to you, and it won't be boring to you. An example, I'll give you a couple laws. Well, we know about the bill collector laws, the Fair Debt Collection Act. That's your right. Is anybody going to knock on your door? No, I'm knocking on your door and saying to you, you have a right here. You have a right against bill collectors. Put them out of business. Do not pay them. Do not pay the bill collectors. The other law, Fair Credit Billing Act. Somebody called me the other day and said they're having a hard time with a creditor, and they're disputing a bill, and I said all you had to do on a piece of paper, the Fair Credit Billing Act. I hope you got your pens out. I hope you got your papers out. The Fair Credit Billing Act. Under the Fair Credit Billing Act, if you have a dispute with your credit card company, all you have to do, don't pick up the phone, put it in writing to them. Under the Fair Credit Billing Act, I am disputing this luggage that I bought. And what happens there? On 90 days, they have to investigate it now with the store, your merchant, or whoever you're telling them to investigate it. They have to correct the problem or reverse it. If they find out they can't correct the problem, then you get your money back. And they cannot, as they're doing this, they cannot report it to the credit bureau. They cannot put it into a bill collector's hands. And if they do, they're violating your credit rights. You didn't know this. There's also a law out there called, which I would love to sit down with the President of the United States, because when this happens, we're going to have a nightmare, is the Sailor and Soldiers Relief Act. When they all come home, they're going to find themselves without cars and without homes, because the banks aren't familiar with the Sailor and Soldiers Relief Act. And while you're on duty, they're not allowed to take your house, they're not allowed to take your car, but they're doing it. They're doing it every day. I get letters from the Army, from captains, every day. So what's going to happen when a whole shipload comes in from overseas that lost their home, lost their car? If you hear this message, the Sailor and Soldiers Relief Act is so important to people out there, and that's a law. There's so many laws out there. The woman in credit rights. If you're a senior, if you're a divorced woman, if you're divorced, and if you have a part-time job, no creditor can deny you credit because you're divorced, or because you owe, or you're collecting something part-time. They're not allowed. They're not allowed to turn you down. Do they do it? Of course they do it. Of course they do it. They break the laws all the time. So the laws on credit, it's not so wham bam where you think it's, you have to be a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a paralegal, and the only reason why I became a paralegal, I wanted to know what the attorneys knew about credit. Zilch. Zero. I do have attorneys that are clients of mine. Why? Credit laws are found in Congress. And when you talk to an attorney, all they know is the law of the courtroom and the law of the state. And that's bankruptcy laws. Every attorney, many attorneys know bankruptcy laws. Not that many attorneys know credit laws. Pretty sad too, because in 1989 I had to sue a credit bureau. in regard to a client, and I had to pro se my own case because no attorneys understood credit. It's pretty sad, and that was in 1989. Look how many years, 25 years goes by, and there's still no one knocking on doors by saying, let's give you the education. Why is our government doing this? Why isn't the people coming out to say, we're tired? And this is what I'm going to expect sooner or later. I'm expecting the people to say, enough is enough. We're tired of our system. We're tired of the banks closing down our accounts. We're tired of attorneys harassing us. We're tired of the bill collectors. Don't think you're always to blame just because you owe money. Just because you owe money. And then people say to me, you know, Pearl, if it's the law, why don't they know it? Why don't they know it? And the reason why it's the law is because if you robbed, let's say, 7-Eleven or Wawa's, that's against the law too. But people rob them every day. People are breaking the laws every day. So, and this is just criminal. Credit is not criminal. So they're going to violate your rights every day. And you know, the sad part is, I call it a terrorist in our country. These bill collectors have become a terrorist in our own country because they're threatening you. They're intimidating you, and they do it all by the phone, the telephone. How do you stop? How do you stop a bill collector? Put a tape recorder by your phone, and when they call, you let them know you're taping them. And if they say you owe us money, say, I'm taping this conversation. Tape it. Mail me the tape. If I see it's harassment, or let me listen to it. I will send it to our consumer protection attorney. And you will have a free lawsuit case. That's also the law. But also the law, if that bill collector happens to be an attorney, he also has to go by the Fair Debt Collection Act, which our Congress passed because attorneys were harassing people illegally, may I add. There's so much to do. There's so much to do in questions and answers when it comes like this. If you want to email us, please email us. And I'm not sure if we have an email, or if we do have an email.
They can email if they want to email right now, or even...
You can email us right now at this moment, or you can call us, 253-8877, or you can go online and email me, and we will answer your questions, everything there is to know about credit. This is an hour that we're giving to the Credit Crunch. We're going to know all the answers and everything. Go ahead. What's your question, Ross?
All right. Everyone heard like Circuit City is liquidating all in the United States.
Right.
The Canadian stores are staying open. Now, what if you have a Circuit City credit card?
Okay.
And Circuit City will be no more.
Right.
Here. So.
What do you do with your credit card?
What do you do? Like, and let's say I'm just going to use this around now. Let's say you owe $5,000.
Correct. You still owe the $5,000.
You still owe the $5,000.
Of course.
And I mean, yeah, of course you do. But what if what if you like don't pay it?
Well, if you don't pay,
can they go and start putting the tags on your credit history?
No. Well, here's what happens there. It's a good question, though. Really good question. But the same thing is the answer, and everybody can answer that. If you have a bank and how many banks go under, and what happens to the credit cards that you have with this bank? Another bank just buys it. Now, with Circuit City, let me tell you, it's going to be a cold day in hell before they really go under. But if you had the $5,000 and you didn't pay it, what's the worst that can happen? I always say to the people, what's the worst that can happen if you did not pay it? Now, normally somebody else would take that over, though, and you'll owe somebody else. But what would happen? Good question. What would happen if you just didn't pay it? What would happen? Nothing. Nothing would happen. They would charge off the account, and then you come to me to correct it. I mean, it's that simple. I always say I only take a client on 3 times because, it can become a scam with the people, too. But I think it's about time the people get what's due to them. I think it's about time where you get what's due to you because of how the system. In 1989, when I started all this, it was interesting because no one understood credit. No one understood anything about the credit rights. No one even seen their credit report. And back in 1989, there were 6 major credit bureaus, not 3. There were 6. And yet you had to deal with all 6 of them, but you didn't even know there was one. You thought it was a government program, these credit bureaus. They're not. They're a regular corporation company in competition with one another. Now, why am I so against two things? I'm so against bill collectors, and I'm so against the credit bureaus. I'm against bill collectors because, one, half the people, majority, 100% of the people do not owe bill collectors. You do not sign any contracts with the bill collectors. And when that time comes, let's reverse it. Let's say you have an attorney that's harassing you. Well, then I'm going to suggest you say to that attorney, hey, you know what, mail me all the documents. Mail me the documentations that I owe this to you. That's what you say to them if you get on the phone. And that's what you say with it. We have some questions coming up. The question is, let's say, if you have an example of Value City or Oscar Humor credit card and they're closing their doors, do you legally have to call up and cancel the card, or can you just shred it up with a zero balance? I would love that. I would love to say yes, you can have a zero balance, but you know that's not true. And you cannot just shred off the card. If they're going to close, like Macy's saying they're closing, well, you still owe the bill. Naturally, you still owe that bill. And if you don't pay it, it will go against you on your credit report. So we would love it for all the banks to go under. Then, no one will owe nothing. But it doesn't work that way. It works where, what's the worst? If you didn't pay it, a charge-off goes on your credit report. Yes, they will charge it off. And two, yes, it can be corrected, which we're going to talk about. Can negative accounts be corrected on a credit report, and how long? The other thing is, it's called putting a charge on your statement in dispute. I've done it, and it's many times to have a credit card company resolve a dispute when the seller will not allow me to return the big ticket item that has been defective. Wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. What you have to do, if they like it or not, all you have to do is quote the law. Under the Fair Credit Billing Act, 1971, and this is your big dispute. Don't let them... Yes, Ron.
Sorry. She meant that she owes nothing, or he owes nothing on that credit card.
Okay.
Can they just tear it up with a zero
Well,
balance?
yes, of course, you tear it up with a zero balance. But, you're going to tear it up, you're not going to get charged for it. Many people are under the assumption when they have credit cards, and some will say to me, what's the best credit cards to get, and what's the most you can have? Sky's the limit. If you understood credit, sky is the limit. The more you pay your bills on time, naturally your credit score is going to go up. It could go up as high as 900. The highest I've ever seen is 800. The lowest I've ever seen is in the 400s. And if you owe credit cards, yes, you can play a Donald Trump trick. You can pay one with the other. In this credit crunch, you may need to. You may need to play a Donald Trump trick to pay one with the other. The banks are familiar with it, and they all want your business. So don't feel intimidated. Don't feel intimidated because you're saying, oh, I'm really in a hole because I'm paying this with this and this with this. Do it anyway until you're out of this crunch so you maintain good credit. But the problem is, suppose you do have a credit problem. Another question we have on the email is, should I borrow against my savings to pay off debt that I owe to an accelerated to my credit? No. Why would you borrow off your savings to pay off a debt that you owe on a credit score to raise your score? Everybody is so gung-ho with these credit scores. It's like the Social Security number. We don't have a Social Security number anymore. We have a credit score. Why would you pay off? We have a money problem today in our country. We have a credit crunch. You want to put as much money possible into your bank and save it for that rainy day. Credit cards are always going to be there. If you died tomorrow, the credit cards are still going to be there. Not by paying, that's another show, but your people that you put it in the will doesn't have to pay this credit card. That's another question. But why take out the money of your savings when you have to get over this hump? Pay off your credit cards, pay it on time, pay it off on time. But you don't have to pay it off to raise that score. As long as you're paying the credit cards, your score will stay up there. If you could be lowering your score for different reasons now. You could be lowering your score by pulling up your report on the internet. You could be lowering your score because all these mortgage companies are pulling up your report. And you could be lowering your score if you go out and purchase, let's say, a car. I said before on one of these shows, you go out on a Monday and you have an 800 score and you go to 10 car lots because you're looking for a car. You're just shopping, but you're giving everybody your Social Security number. And what happens if by 10 o'clock at night Your score's down to 400. And you're saying, what did I do? What happened? I didn't do nothing. But you did. You went out and you gave 10 car dealers your social security number, and all of them pulled up your report because they wanted to make a sale. The only one who lost in all this is the end of the night. You didn't buy a car and you have a score of 400 and some, because everybody looked inside your social security number. So what I'm going to suggest is get a copy of your credit report, and when you go out and purchase a car, do not give any dealer your social security number. That's one. Secondly, if you have a copy of your credit report, show them until you purchase the right car. When you go into a car lot and you say, well, you know, this is the car I want, now you can pull it up because it's only one pull-up. Mortgage companies do the same thing. Mortgage companies, because they want that commission, or real estates want that commission. They will say, well, we have to do our homework on you. Well, that's the worst thing to do, because when a mortgage company pulls up your credit, it's 30 points. You just lost. So think about it if two mortgage companies pulled it up. And that's not even the worst about the mortgage companies. I'm against 90% of the mortgage companies. I only deal with a handful for a reason. And the reason why I'm against mortgage companies, I mean, it sounds like I'm against all these things, but I know all your rights. I know my rights. And I'm not about to get lost in the system because they don't know their rights. And this is why I'm against mortgage companies and real estates. They will pull and they will say to you, in order to get this home, we have to pull up your credit. You've heard this. What they're pulling up is called, write down, an in-file. I-N-F-I-L-E. Now, what is an in-file? An in-file is a third-party computer with 3 credit bureaus on one page. Now, 3 credit bureaus, they're all in competition with one another. They don't even like one another, but they're all in competition, so why would they be on one page? But the mortgage company believes that this is the true credit bureaus, and it's not. Here's the problem. If something was disputed on a Monday, and the credit bureaus, the true credit bureaus, removed it on a Monday, how could it get to the in-file by Tuesday? It couldn't. It would have to wait 30 days to 60 days. So, if you had something removed from the credit report on a Monday, and you went to the mortgage company on a Tuesday, and they pulled up an in-file and it's still on there, it would say, you have a whole list of bad credit here. Lady, you got a whole list here of bad credit. Well, you're angry. But you have a right to be angry at the wrong people, because what they pulled up was an outdated report. My clients, I try to educate them, and I try to say make a copy of everything. And the reason why I do this is because I say make a copy because by the time you went to that mortgage company, you're showing them the true credit report. And if they pulled up an in-file and they say, what about this Macy's loan here was charged off? Here's the true bureau that it was deleted. Now they have to go back to their in-file to say, you better correct this, you better remove this. And they have to under law. This is just a little education. This is just a little education when it comes to this. Now, let's go back to the email. Our phone line here is 215-253-8877. But if you have a question by email, we'll be gladly to answer it, because this is the Credit Crunch Hour to answer all your questions. I was taken by ambulance to the emergency room last August. The hospital I went to was a participating hospital with my health insurance. But the emergency room wasn't, and I didn't know this. Now I'm being billed by the emergency room for the unpaid bill. Well, the question is, I'm sure you're going to ask this, should I pay it? In decency, well, you didn't know it, so I would dispute it. I would dispute it by saying, why would I pay for something that I thought it was part of my plan? What would happen if you didn't pay it? If you didn't pay it, they could turn it over to an unauthorized bill collector, and most likely they will. Now, if depending on what the bill was, now I'm being billed by the emergency room. $4,000 I had in physical therapy. I appealed the decision by the insurance company, said according to their doctors, they did not need the therapy. Also, I had an MRI. The insurance company didn't pay for it. My insurance company also got sued by the state of New York for this kind of nonsense. Well, then there you go. There is your dispute. There's your dispute if you didn't pay it. And the reason why I'm saying there's your dispute if you didn't pay it is if they did report you to the credit bureau. Now you have a dispute to remove that account. How is it so simple? It's so simple, as I said earlier. And it could be a doctor, it could be the insurance company, or it could be the creditor. The law states under Section 611, if the credit bureau, and they will, when you're writing to the credit bureau to dispute something, which this person would do with the emergency room and the $4,000, when you're disputing with the credit bureau, you're asking them to investigate it with the original creditor, doctor, not a bill collector now. But they don't normally respond back. Courts don't respond back. They're backed up, and creditors don't respond back because they don't have your account. And I can guarantee you doctors don't respond back. I haven't seen it in so many years. But if they don't, the account has to be deleted from the credit report. Now some will say, it was deleted. This account was deleted from my credit report, but I'm still getting harassed. Well, let me say, one has nothing to do with the other. Just because it's removed from a credit report, you may have good credit, but you still may be harassed by bill collectors for the rest of your life, because now bill collectors are selling it to bill collectors, and only you can stop it. You know, years ago you didn't have the education, you didn't have the knowledge. Now you're getting the education, you're getting the knowledge, and I have an old saying at my seminars: I could take you to the water, I cannot force you to drink it. And those that procrastinate will always procrastinate. And I really hope 2009 is the time that you wake up, you open up your eyes, and you say, you know, this is time that I wake up, and this is time that I'm going to change my credit, and this is time that I'm going to get educated. And it's not so tough. I'm going to give you out my number. If you wish to become my client, all you have to do, very simple, pick up the phone, 1-800-876-CREDIT. 1-800-876-CREDIT. And all you have to say is, Pearl, I wish to become a client. I will send you out my information, all about me, all about the service, everything we do, and at that moment on, you will become a client. And yes, if all you have to mention is you've seen this on the Irv Homer show, you will get a discount on top of it. So it's really simple to correct the problems of today, and more so than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I could not save your home from foreclosure. 10 years ago, it was a little bit tougher on the system, being with so many credit bureaus. Now we're down to 3. Now we can save your home. Now we can put you in a new home. Now we can stop the bill collectors. What more do you want? The problem is people are procrastinators. And, you know, it's interesting how many times the people will say, well, I want my home. I want this and I want that, and they never do it. Don't you think, and in this phone call, the commercial of the phone call, the phones are ringing, you know it's the mortgage company or the bill collector, and everybody's sitting there afraid to answer the phone. Why? I'm sitting there when I watch this commercial and I say, why are you afraid to answer the phone? This is a free lawsuit case if there's a violation there. Pick up the phone. Don't be so afraid. Don't run from the problems, because if you run from the problems, they're going to follow you. And they're going to follow you until it hurts. Then you won't know where to go because you didn't get the education. Or somebody's going to knock on your door from the sheriff's department to take away your furniture, to take away. Are they allowed? No. I hope that this particular show like this will travel to your friends, your relatives, and if not, go back and tell them to rewatch it, because they can fall victim. They can fall victim. I am on a mission. I've been on a mission for years, but now I'm on a bigger mission now that we got a new president coming in. You know, let's go back to the emails. Pearl, can you give basic steps we should follow if we lose our jobs to avoid problems? I'm in okay shape at my job, but I like to be ready in case I am. That's another good question. As we said about at the beginning, about the attorney that was taking money from people, if you are in good shape, if you're in good shape now, but you're a little bit afraid because you may lose your job, the first step is to pick up the phone. Don't be afraid. Pick up the phone and call your creditors to say, you know, I need to lower the interest rate. And I want a supervisor. I need for you to lower my interest rate now. Because if you can't, and I lose my job, I'm not going to pay you. So I need that 0% or 2% or 4%. Now, if they lower it, okay, that's great. But if they say no to you, well, what are they telling you? They're saying to you, don't pay your bill. Well, guess what? Call me. Because if you don't pay your bill, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to protect you from the bill collectors, and I'm going to remove this negative bank from the credit report. How long does it take? The minimum is 30 days, not 7 years. You don't have to wait 7 years to remove negative things from your credit report. So don't let that stop you, or don't let that think, because I hear every day, oh, Pearl, I had good credit for all these years. And I always say to them, I hear it every day, let's stop the bill collectors. Let's get you back into good shape again. So don't, if you're losing or about to lose your job, and if you have a lot of access to those credit cards that you're already in, and you have, let's say you have 10,000 of access, and you know you're going to lose your job, don't turn the 10,000 back to the banks. Let it work for you. You call my toll-free number. I will show you how we work with the new program reduction. It's 1-800-876-CREDIT. I will show you how it works. If you have good credit, if you have bad credit, we remove the negatives, we correct it, we stop the bill collectors, we do it all. And as a paralegal, we're a step ahead, because you're not paying for my paralegal time. We have a one price because of the clients across the country. And it's pretty good. I mean, like I said, I'm on a mission to help as many people save their homes. And the best things that I get out of it, when somebody calls me and says, hey, you know what, Pearl, I can't thank you enough. Like this woman, the first one, it's especially her. And people like her, that says, you saved my home for me, or I would have been putting out $14,000, $1,400 a month. So people does appreciate, and that makes me go on and on and on. And all the frustrations of my day, that keeps me going on and on. And everybody says, well, people are hurting, but this is the best time of your life. This is the best time where the homes are so cheap. You can get your credit corrected. That's one. And there's so many things you can do, more so than you couldn't do years ago. Now you know me, I can correct the credit, get you back in good shape again, get you back in the mainstream. So it's pretty interesting. Another email. Pearl, I followed your recommendations to get my credit report and worked really well. Now I have my credit report frozen, so the credit report's offer stopped. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't have the credit reports frozen. You don't want that, because if anybody that's trying to, including you, trying to dispute something, you won't be able to get in, or no one can get in. And when a client of mine calls me up and says, I think I have identity theft, and I used to say to them, you don't have identity theft, because I'm looking at your report all the time when you mail me the updates. So if anybody's on there, believe it or not, I will tack it, I will report it, and I will do what I have to do as a consumer advocate. Who am I? What am I? I'm a consumer advocate for credit rights. I'm a talk show host. I'm a paralegal. I'm a notary. The list goes on and on. I was also an insurance agent. The reason for all this is I like to get all the education I can to help you. Yes, I get frustrated. I get frustrated not with the people that I've helped. I get frustrated with the people, and I will call them brain dead. They're procrastinators. People that procrastinate, to say, I'm done, I don't know what to do, I won't pick up the phone, and I'm deserted for the next 20 years. These are the people that I have a problem with, because now is the time. It's a win-win situation. I haven't said this in 25 years. That's a win-win situation. You can actually take advantage of the banks with the credit cards, because the banks are hurting too now. You can lower your interest rates if you have good credit. You actually have access now to buying property, brand new homes for people that were renting with a low score. All I have to do is dispute a few times, and you can get a brand new home in the city of Philadelphia if you're renting. The other good news is if you're in foreclosure or back on your mortgage or an adjustable mortgage, why are you sitting there by saying, oh, I got to pick up the phone, I don't know what to do, I'm losing my home? You don't have to lose your home. So it's a win-win situation that I'm offering everyone out there, and I couldn't 20 years ago. And tonight, it's a special night, because being the host of the Irv Homer show during this credit crunch, I hope you, when you're done watching this show, you will contact your friends, your relatives, and your neighbors to say, go to the archives, go to the Irv Homer, and listen to this show. because this affects you, and this is happening to you, and this is what you did, this is why your credit score went down. Everyone can be saved with the credit crunch. And again, I'm not a miracle worker, but I know every law out there. For 25 years I've been doing this. And you know what? It's pretty unique, because my clients aren't just the poor or the middle class. They're the rich and famous. They're doctors, they're lawyers, there's even surgeons. And it goes down the line that no one is exempt from having a credit problem. No one is exempt from having a credit problem. And you can have a credit problem, and some will say, well, I pay my bills on time, I'll never have a credit problem. I have a good job, I'll never have a credit problem. And yet something will happen. Something always will happen. The mail will be late. You're 30 days late if the mail's late, because you have to convince these people that it was the post office, because they hear it every day. Or you paid the wrong people. You paid a bill collector $10,000 that you didn't have to. Or in case of death, you think you have to pay your spouses. You don't even have to pay the spouses if it's in your name, and definitely if you're husband and wife, separate the accounts. You have your credit cards, he has his credit cards, and that's for two reasons: case of death or divorce. The credit card companies cannot go after your estate to say, well, the estate of your husband, pay off that credit card of $10,000, because if you did, mail me the check for $10,000, and I will get it off them, and I'll stop the harassment. I mean, it sounds funny, but it is. To me, it is, because no one has ever mailed me $10,000 yet to say, hey, you know what? Stop this bill collector from harassing me, so I don't have to mail them the $10,000 because my husband died. My husband passed away. You're not responsible for your spouse's money unless you go on as a joint. Do not go on as a joint. And if you are as a joint, tomorrow, call the credit card companies and say, you know what? I want my own card. They can't deny you, and you want your own card for a reason, because you can pay his bills, he can pay your bills during this credit crunch as well until you get over it. Until you get over it. There's too many solutions today to save your credit. It's not as bad as you think it is. You hear it on the news every day. The unemployment is down. Everything is, unemployment goes up. The car dealers come down. And Macy's is closing. Circuit City's closing. We feel like it's making us desperate. It's making us tension. And even tension. People are having strokes with this. People are committing suicide because of credit. No one's going to come to your funeral. Bill collectors especially will not come to your funeral. And if you're on the other side and watching this, you're going to say, what did I do? All over money. A friend of mine took sick. And I say, your health comes first. And then after your health, it's your finances. Because once you're dead and gone, all the money in the world you can't take with you. And it's interesting because, there was a joke that I heard to make things mild. The husband died, and the last thing he said to his wife before he died was, you know what, I make so much money and I crave money, I want you to bury my money with me. This is how much I love money. And he put it in a will that his wife put the money in his casket. Well, he did die of a heart attack, and the wife, she made a promise to him, and it was in the will. Well, what she did, she wrote out a check and she threw it right in the coffin with him. And he was buried with the check. But he didn't say cash. He said he wanted his money to be buried with him. Now, where are you going to take your money to? Or who's going to do it? Who's going to take your money? And even the undertakers today, or everybody is trying to rip people off. There's so many scams out there. There's so many scams, identity thefts. Well, identity thefts came with the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus came because they were giving out your name to everybody out there on the market. Get your credit. What I'm going to suggest is, if you have a credit problem, call me. I will help you correct it. It's not so hard. I always say, put it in my hands and sit back and enjoy the ride, because that's exactly what I do. Sit back and enjoy the ride so nothing ever further can happen to you again. On the email, what is the difference between a debit card and a credit card, and what is the problem I get in with each one? Well, you really, I'm against debit cards. I really am against debit cards. Credit cards are unsecure. Debit cards are secured. Now, if you have a debit card on your credit report, that looks bad to another credit card company because they're saying, whoa, why does this person have a debit card? He can't get a credit card. And all creditors look at this to say, I'm going to deny them. Because of this credit crunch, they're going to turn you down. Use another bank's money. Don't use your own money. On a debit card, you're using your own money. Use another bank's money. Do what Donald Trump. Use the bank's money to survive for the rest of your life, and you can. That is the difference. The problem you get yourself into is not going to be with your credit card. It's going to be with the debit card, because that's your money. The credit card, you could always correct, dispute under the Fair Credit Billing Act. There's so many laws, and you can even stop it and stop paying it. The debit card's your money. Watch what you do with your money and save your money like a hawk. Save your money. How could my wife ever possibly have her own card rather than a joint card? As the 44 years we were married, she never had employment outside the house as a homemaker. I think only a joint account would work for her. I don't think so, sir, and here's why. Here's why. You know, even though you say she's a housewife, she never had unemployment. Okay, well, if she had a part-time job or something, but and here's why I'm not saying a joint account. And even though she could have access to your account, that's what I'm going to suggest. Let her use your credit card. And here's why, sir. Because if you were married for 44 years, and next year, God forbid, you had a heart attack, and you had a $15,000 bill rolled up on this credit card, and that credit card company contacts your wife and says, and she only used, let's say she only used $500 of your credit card, and your credit card company says to her, well, we're taking this from your estate. You owe us $10,000. Now, wouldn't it have been nice if you had your own credit card? She was using your card, and when you died, all she had to do was send him a death certificate. She wouldn't have had to pay zero. Isn't this a little bit nicer for her when you're gone? I would say so. So don't think you're giving her any honor by giving her a joint credit card, you know, for two people's names on it. It's worse than it seems. And I have been there. I have been there through every credit card company. Sometimes before the fact, sometimes after the fact. But after the fact, I mean, it's interesting how somebody can actually harass you into your estate to say, and recently on my own radio show, it was the producer's mother's, she lost her husband. And the credit card company contacted her and said, we want the estate. You owe us $10,000. She called me up that quick and she said, I hear your show all the time. I hear your show all the time. And do I have to pay it? Well, you know, I'm glad she called me, because the answer was no. I said, send a copy of the death certificate, and if they harass you, call me, because I will send them a cease communication letter. So this is where you need to know. It's not a joint money account like a bank. A bank is different. A bank, when you put your money into a bank jointly, it's your both. It's your hard working money. But a credit card is the bank's money, so separate it. Use the bank's money up. They're using you. They're charging you all this high interest rate. I think it's time we turn the tables around and use them. I think it's time that we wake up America. Enough is enough. You know, if you can't wise up now, you're never going to wise up. If I can take it to the water and you don't want to drink it and you're thirsty, I can't force you to drink. I can give you all the education of a lifetime. And that's all I could do to help you survive this credit crunch. And it's great being here, trying to educate you, and this is my forum right now, because thanks to Irv Homer. If you have a credit problem, 1-800-876-CREDIT. Pick up the phone and call Pearl. If you want a live operator, 1-866-61-PEARL. You'll talk to a live operator, leave your name and leave your phone number. I will call you back. But on the 1-800-876, all you have to do is pick it up and say, I want to become a client. Here's my name, here's my address. I will ship out all my information to you. Here's my name, here's my address. I will ship out the free information to you. We also have my book, Credit Lifeline, and I also have my package that was sold on QVC. That's the Credit Lifeline information package. So it's my book and 6 CDs with it. So you have an opportunity you can't turn down. You really can't turn down. And if you do turn it down and you're sitting there watching this, and if you are watching this, you have a credit problem. And if you have good credit and you're afraid, don't be afraid. Use the system. Use the system to your advantage. You've heard of the credit bureaus. I talked about the bill collectors. I talked about the laws of credit. I've talked about your credit rating. I've talked about cleaning up your report in 30 days, not 7 years. Why wait to 7 years when you can do it tomorrow? And if you think you can't afford it, you know, I charge a minimum fee, and my fee is low, very low. And I say sometimes when I also do seminars, if you would like me to attend seminars, please just say I would like you to attend at my church. But the fee is low because what I say at a seminar at the beginning is, if I said to you that you can have a brand new Mercedes for $600 or $1,000 and come up with it within 24 hours, how many would come up with it? Raise your hand. Half the room would raise their hand and come up with $600 or $1,000 to get a brand new Mercedes. And yet they won't correct their own credit and their own problems to get this Mercedes. So if you look at the logic in back of it, I'm going to save you from your stress. I'm going to save you from your heartache. I'm going to save your home. I'm going to save your car. And I'm going to save you all the knowledge before you take out the dollar in your pocket and pay someone, and pay that creditor, pay that attorney, as the first call did. You need to get educated. Again, I'm going to repeat this. I can take it to the water. I can't force you to drink it. 1-800-876-CREDIT. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. I want to thank Irv Homer for having me on this Credit Crunch Hour. Thank you. America, enough is enough. Do what you have to do. I want to thank you for being on the show.